Hey, welcome to Oldies But Goodies. I'm your server. My name's Kevin Hearthstone. What can I get you tonight?
I'll have a scotch, please.
Scotch? Straight up?
Straight up.
You got it.
Awesome, thank you. Hey, that's a really pretty necklace. What is that?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it says OG. It stands for Oldies But Goodies. It's a podcast me and my friends started, and where we interview the older generations of humanity, and we get their life experiences and share their wisdom with the world.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Where can I watch it?
Well, I can send you a link if you'd like.
That'd be great.
Give me your number. We on? Okay. Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in for the first episode of Oldies But Goodies. And I am your host, Kevin Hearthstone. That's not my real name, just my stage name, by the way, for anybody who knows me. But we're here today and in the future to have an interview with the older generations of our world before they're no longer with us, and they can give us lessons and things they've learned and wisdom. So I'm here today with my half-aunt, half-grandmother, Maria Adams. Welcome.
I'm glad to be here. I'm glad you're here.
I'm glad you're here. Do you have anything you want to start out with?
Well, I'll correct you that I'm a half grandma, but I'm a full aunt.
Okay.
Because I'm biologically your aunt.
Okay.
Because my sister is your mom.
Okay.
I am technically a step grandmother, but no.
Let's tell the world why that is.
Why that is? I'm technically your step grandmother, although there's no children in the family have called me that because you have a full grandmother named Miriam, who is your grandpa's first wife. But she was deceased when your grandpa and I married, and none of you children, well, I think there are a couple of the older generation now who knew her, but no one your age knew her. So, ta-da! I'm just grandma, even though technically I'm not biologically grandma.
But you have been my whole life. That's the only thing I've known you as.
That's the only thing you've ever known me as.
Yes.
And you know you have Grandma Miriam, I'm sure, because they have letters from her. And
I've seen pictures, yeah.
Pictures, yeah. So anyway, so that's
okay.
So
cool.
There.
Okay. Well, thank you for the introduction. This is my biological aunt who has been my grandmother my entire life. So, first question I wanted to ask you if you're ready to hop into it.
Yep.
Okay. What is your first memory in life that you can remember?
And I tried to think as far back as I could. And honestly, I don't tend to make memories in pictures very often. I make memories in feelings and impressions, which doesn't happen for everyone. I don't know, but for me, the first picture memory and emotion picture or whatever is I was probably maybe 5 or 6.
Okay.
And we lived in an old 2-story house, and I can remember my mom screaming, yelling. Your grandpa's running around, who happens to be my dad, of course. So Dad's running around. We'd come running down the stairs, and him and Mom are running all around, and there's a bat in the house, and Grandpa has a broom, and Grandma's yelling, screaming. Of course, us girls start crying, and Grandpa's trying to I don't have a memory of how he got the bat out, but.
And so this was before my mom was born, because she's 5 years younger than you, right?
Yeah, she wasn't. Your mom was not there.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you remember this very specifically.
Yes, very specifically.
And what was that like for you? What emotions does it bring back thinking about it?
Well, I think it was fear, and I still hate bats. In fact, occasionally in this house, we get a bat. The very first one was in my bedroom. And so, I'm still freaked out.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that story. On to the next question. Tell us about where you grew up and what your family was like. Even the answers that I might know, but the audience may not.
And how far are we talking growing up? Are we talking...
Start where you want and end where you want. It's up to you.
I really probably grew up... Well, the first real memory about growing up is when we moved into what was Maywood Manor.
Okay.
Probably an idyllic little, like the house is probably 1,200 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom. 5 kids landed in that house. But I never have a memory of fighting over the bathroom, ever, not one time. And I grew up, we just ran free, went out the door in the morning, and Mom didn't know where we were. We knew we better be home at dinner time. How we knew it was dinner time, I don't know. I guess because all the kids start going home, or the kids that live closer to where we were, Mom started calling for them, and we go, I better get home because it's probably dinner time, because then Mom will kill me.
Did you like?
Oh, I think it's recording.
The whole time?
I don't know if it was recording the whole time because I
Okay,
had
okay.
stopped it, but
All right. Sorry about that brief break, but we're back, and we were talking about your childhood experiences playing and coming back at dinner time. Continue.
And the fact that we were not supposed to go in anyone else's house.
Yes, that's it.
And so my very best friend in the world lived right across the street from me.
Okay.
So if I went in her house when I wasn't supposed to, Mom would see me.
Hell to pay.
But if we played in the backyard,
Okay.
then we could go in the back door. Because her mom worked.
Oh.
And so her mom would never know. Her mom probably wouldn't have cared. Not that she wouldn't have cared, but she trusted her kid. She left her there alone all the time.
So what you're telling me is you
She was
weren't
a
always
single
this
mom.
rule follower. You were a rebel from the beginning.
Yep,
Okay.
I guess that's true. No,
Okay.
actually, I wish I was more of a rebel. But anyway, yeah, I did not always follow the rules. So I would go in there and eat corned beef hash out of a can and think that, because for me that was really cool, because my mom cooked all the time.
Okay.
Her mom's feeding her corned beef hash out of a can, which for me was fun to eat.
Corn. What is it? Corned beef.
Corned beef hash.
Corned beef hash out of a can. Okay.
Yeah. They still sell that. I haven't bought any for a very long time.
I'll get you some if you want.
No, but
Okay.
it was fun. And
Okay.
of course, just run and play and be home for dinner.
Okay. And this was where?
Maywood Manor on Bowen Place, and the house is still there. 3550 Bowen Place.
And for anyone that's watching that is not from Indianapolis, what side of town is that? Was it a country home?
The
or
wrong side of town.
wrong side of town
Southwest side of town.
of Indianapolis. Okay. All right.
Yeah. Wrong side of town.
Next question, if you're ready.
I'm ready.
Do you remember what you wanted to be when you grew up as a child?
As a young child, I just wanted to be good.
Okay.
So my mother didn't hit me. But anyway, with whatever she could get her hands on. I don't think she ever hit me with her hand. It was always a fly swatter or a wooden spoon, normally.
Do you know why she was so angry? Was it you guys? Was it something she was dealing with?
Actually, she told me she was very old. I took care of your grandmother for about 11 years in my home.
I remember, yes.
So somewhere along the way, I don't know what brought the conversation up, but she told me that she disciplined us because she wouldn't allow Grandpa to discipline us. Early in their marriage, evidently early in their marriage, Grandpa had disciplined us, and she didn't feel that he was kind enough. I don't know. That he was too harsh. I don't know.
Okay.
Somehow. And she wouldn't let him discipline. So he never did, ever. Well, I do have one memory, which might be the time she remembers.
Okay. Do you want to talk about it? Or?
Sure. And I was probably young still, maybe.
Okay.
Probably 8. I was in school because we grew up Catholic. And when we went to church growing up, the kids sat up front of the church all together. With the other kids, not with our parents, but our parents could see us. And so one Sunday in church, my name is Maria, and as a Catholic, that's Latin for Mary. So lots of songs have Maria in them.
Okay.
So in church, when they would sing some of those songs, my friends are poking me, and then we're laughing, and it's like, I can't help what my name is. But anyway, Grandpa was mad, and he took us home, and he got his belt out. Me and Aunt Cindy.
Oh, really?
She must have been my partner in crime. I don't know. Beat the living daylights out of our behind. He didn't hit me everywhere. Made us bend over the bed. And Aunt Cindy says she doesn't remember that. Mostly.
Really? How old do you think she was?
She was younger than me, so if I was 8, she'd been 6-ish.
Okay.
And we made. So yeah, Grandma did tell me that, and I don't know if that's the incident. It might have been even younger than that Grandma remembered, but
Okay.
That's the only time I ever remember Grandpa.
Mm-hmm.
Not that he
Doing
didn't
anything violent?
violent, physical discipline.
Okay.
He disciplined for certainly, but it was with words.
Okay.
As you would know,
Yes.
Yes, you're very much like him in that department. Not in the disciplining part, in the words part.
Well, I was born without a filter, and one thing I've learned is that if you're born without it, you just can't get one after that. You can't pay for it. You can't buy it. I don't know what it is. It's a disease, I think. So, okay.
A disability.
All right. Very interesting. Very interesting. So you want it to be good. Tell me, actually, okay.
Oh, I know what else though. I did want to be good young, but when I was probably young teenager-ish, the church group went on a short mission trip. It was probably 3 days, so it was probably a weekend to Appalachia.
Okay.
And we couldn't talk about church, but we went and we played games, spent time with a group of young children, visited in a couple of homes, and they had cardboard for windows and dirt floors, and I was just totally sure that I was going to go back someday and save the children of Appalachia.
And but never happened.
No.
Just forgot, or did you?
No,
was it something in the back of your head, or?
No, yeah, well, yeah, it was. I was going to make a difference for those kids. But life, as you well know, life happens.
Yes, life certainly happens.
Life happens, so that never happened. No.
Okay.
But I did think I would do that.
Okay, let me ask you this. From your childhood in regard to the world today, is there anything that we don't have in society or anything? What would you bring back? What do you miss about that our children are missing out on today, I guess is what I'm saying.
Childhood freedom.
Okay.
The freedom that I had now, even here, and we have a little bit of property here, if grandkids go outside, if you can't see them in a certain amount of time, you're going outside and finding them.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up, my parents did not have any idea where I was.
Do you think the world has gotten more dangerous, or parents have gotten more helicopter?
I think the world is different.
I think the world's different. So you felt safer?
Safer, yeah. The world is different. No, and I don't. Well, there are helicopter parents.
Yeah.
But I think it's that things that were considered wrong then are not necessarily wrong now. Mm-hmm. I think society makes excuses
that's interesting.
For bad behavior.
Because I think the opposite.
Of all kinds.
I think a lot of people think more things are like, well, at least when I was a child, people are so scared to discipline their children, I guess is what I'm saying. You know what I mean? And
well, yeah, but disciplining children isn't what freedom was about.
Okay.
I mean, because they turned us
loose.
They weren't disciplining us outside. They didn't.
Sure.
Unless they found out what we did. Like if my mom found out I was in, she did, the discipline would have happened. But it went. And people now, I don't think people now are afraid to discipline their children. I think they're too lazy to discipline their children. They're too busy with their own life.
Okay.
They're too busy on their devices to even know what their child is doing.
Yes. I
don't think they're afraid. Now, in a public setting where someone else might judge you, or in your employment or whatever, then I think there's fear there.
Okay.
In terms of raising your children, parents they're too busy doing their own thing.
Okay. So same question backwards. What is one thing children have today that you wish there's one thing you could choose? Sure, there's many, but
there's not. I honestly have tried to think of something.
Oh.
Something from here that I would take back there. I wish I had.
Nothing.
Color TV kind of came to mind because when I was young, I can remember getting the first color television.
Okay.
And when we got the first color television, they had a black and white TV, probably about this big, and it came into my bedroom, which was Aunt Cindy and I shared a bedroom forever, always. I never had a bedroom by myself.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that TV came into our room, and I would sit up to watch. To me, then was all night, but and watch TV real quiet, so mom and dad couldn't hear. And I say all night, but at like midnight, then at midnight the TV just went. It got this around like a target thing on the screen, and just went and this all staticky, so you couldn't watch really like till morning time like you can now. But
okay.
But no, I honestly,
But it wouldn't have been a good thing if you could, right? I mean.
No, right.
You're not mad about that.
No,
I'm sure.
no, right, exactly. So no,
Yeah.
I wouldn't bring cell phones back. I try to think of a food that I would take back that I can have now, but that I couldn't have then. Nothing came to mind. I try to think of an appliance. Like there were, Grandma had to, she didn't have a lot of fancy gadgets and mixers, and it's not that either. I try to think of a toy from now that I would take back.
There's nothing. It was just better back then.
Everything was better. Everything was better.
Everything was better.
Everything was better. Yeah, everything was.
Sorry, kids.
Quieter.
Nothing.
Sorry.
You guys are missing out on a lot.
Nothing is going back, right? You didn't miss that. You all are the ones missing out.
Yes.
Because you got look at
I
this.
believe it. And honestly, I was never a video game. Video games were coming out when I was a kid, or getting big, I guess.
Oh, I know that.
Not coming out.
Because I have a story about that.
Okay,
and
feel free.
Well, it's sitting right up there on the shelf, and you can bring it down.
Okay, I'll be right back. What do we got?
Jenga. The Jenga game, right?
Oh, I thought you were looking for a video game.
No.
Okay, you're just kidding. Okay, Jenga?
You just
Is it in there good? Okay.
You just said you're not a video kid, so.
Yeah.
Okay, so your grandpa and I had you, which was a big deal, kind of, because we didn't get you very often.
Yeah.
And we took you to a literal toy store.
Yeah. I remember got to stay at your guys' house over the weekend.
Right.
And Amanda wasn't home. I was so excited because I was going to hang out with Amanda. She was at her friend's house.
And we felt bad, so we did take you to a toy store.
Yeah.
And literally, we would have bought you any toy in there. And there were, is it Atari? Probably Atari and those kinds of things. I don't know what
it was probably like Nintendo 64 time.
Yeah, there was a gaming system out. We were sure, because we were like, we're taking this kid to a toy store. I don't know how much it's going to cost us. And honestly, this is what you, all the toys, this is what you picked out.
Jenga, guys. It's a good game.
And so we did play Jenga.
No, I remember that night very specifically.
So
that was fun.
We played Jenga because you were not a video game guy.
No, I wasn't. And
on top of that, you're a cheap date, so.
I don't know if my ex-wife would say that, but but to that point, I'm lucky in that sense because I had a really close friend whose younger brother just played video games all the time. He had no friends, and I know there's way more than there was back then. Now, and to your point of playing outside till dinner time, I had a creek through my backyard, and we, gosh, I caught every creature in that creek, and my parents let me keep it in the house or in the garage,
So to your own question, what would you take back? It wouldn't be a video game.
No, it would not. No, it would not be a video game.
So,
I mean, I guess just out of selfishness, I would definitely prefer, an iPhone so I could, or just a cell phone so because I could talk to all the girls that. Actually, my parents got me my own phone line to talk to people on for like a short time. They took it away pretty quick, but. Yeah, I was always on the phone with a girl for hours at a time. Okay. I talk a little bit, if you can't tell. So
I do know that about you.
Okay, all right. Next question. What is the biggest risk you have ever taken that had the biggest return on your investment? An investment, not necessarily money.
Marrying your grandpa.
Oh, big risk.
Big risk.
Because.
For a lot of reasons.
Okay. Do you mind sharing? You don't have to share all of it.
No. Well, first of all, your grandma Miriam had been sick.
Yes.
For a long time, for like 2 years. I can even back up a little bit. I did not know your grandpa and grandma before. I knew of him because obviously my sister was married to his son.
Yeah.
And we were at their wedding. I think that's probably the only.
It's the only time you ever met.
I think that's the only time we were ever together.
Okay.
Of course, we heard about them. You know, we're going to, of course, Dad's house, Mom's house, whatever, Grandma and Grandpa's house when you were born. I'm sure, but no, because when you were born, I was the grandma. But anyway, no, that
maybe
didn't
when my
happen.
sisters were just born.
No, they didn't know
Okay.
Miriam either.
Okay.
Neither of them knew Miriam. But backing up a little bit,
Okay.
I was divorced,
Mm-hmm.
and I put myself through school and teaching. It was time for me to do my student teaching coming up, and so I have 2 kids, and I'm the sole support. Very little child support coming from the darling ex-husband. So it's how.
At least he paid something, though.
Well, no.
Oh, did he pay something?
Rarely, no.
Okay.
Basically, no. So it's like, how do I? Because I can't have my job and do my student teaching. So I started taking all these side jobs. I took a job at a daycare center because I could take the kids with me when they got out of school.
Mm-hmm.
I took on some cleaning things. One of the cleaning things was your grandpa needed someone to clean his office.
Mm-hmm.
I never met with him. Your dad
Mm-hmm.
arranged that whole thing between us, and Grandpa would leave a check on the desk. But again, I could take the kids with me. They emptied trash cans and they could push a vacuum cleaner. So I never saw your grandpa.
Yeah, a little
Yeah.
working crew.
Right,
So
exactly.
A couple slaves.
Exactly. So I took that job, which of course Larry and Susan, your mom and dad, knew that I was taking jobs on.
Yeah.
In the meantime, your grandma Miriam had been sick for like 2 years, and they did not tell their children that she was terminal.
Mm-hmm.
So when Miriam died, they had a hard time with that because they hadn't had time to prepare. Your grandpa, on the other hand, had known for a long time that, and of course their relationship was more patient and caregiver.
Okay.
Although it far transcends that, because then your grandpa and I went through the same relationship when he got sick.
Mm-hmm.
But it changes your marital relationships, of course.
Okay.
You're not the physical connection there is
Mm-hmm.
different. You're still
Yes.
caring physically for
Mm-hmm.
that person, but not in the same
Yeah.
way, obviously. So when Miriam died, they were devastated, of course, and Grandpa, of course, it was hard. But they decided he needed someone to help him keep his house clean. Well, they'd
Mm-hmm.
already hooked me up with him to clean his office. So they're like, Maria could do that. So me marrying him is really their fault, even though they're really still really not happy about it. They got us together over at the little house next
Mm-hmm.
door there in Grandma Annie's house, and got started. And I started cleaning for Grandpa in August sometime, shortly after Miriam died.
Mm-hmm.
And your grandpa and I got married in December.
Mm. And
because right away your grandpa was pretty flirty.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it just was. And he was a force of nature.
He was. Anybody that knows him knew him.
So anyway, so yeah, so that's part of why it was hard for them.
Yeah.
Because they just buried their mom, and now he picked someone else. And I'm 20 years younger than him on top of that.
Okay, so what were the ages he asked me? And I'm thinking 30 and 50, right?
I think I was 32 and he was 50. Well, 82. How old was I in 82? I was born in 1951. 51.
You a math genius, Sean?
So I was probably
31.
31. Yeah, so he would have been 51. He was almost exactly 20 years. Because when my age changes, his age catches up to 20 years difference in September. My birthday's in June, and then his was in September. So almost exactly 20 years older. So that didn't make, so do have a funny story for you. I'm telling your dad, however. But so they're all upset because, Dad's marrying Aunt Maria, and he had kids not very much younger than me.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy especially, I think I don't know.
Oh, yes.
I don't know how much younger Jimmy was than me. So lots of reasons not
Maybe
to be
2 or
happy
3
about
years
that.
tops,
Yeah. I, however, thought, because your dad and I were very good friends.
Yeah.
Well, plus we were related. I was his sister-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm, of course, I'm his stepmother and his sister-in-law,
Yeah.
technically speaking, which that didn't make him happy. But anyway, so I thought that over time it would get better.
Mm-hmm.
For some it did, and for others it didn't.
Well, I can tell you this much, and maybe, conversations were kept away from me. I don't know.
Right.
But I have never had your side, my side, whatever, our side, anybody,
Right.
say that it upset them, or that, I mean, any human say, okay, yeah, sure, that couldn't be easy to accept,
Right.
But I will tell you this, and if no one has told you it, I know I'm not the only one because people have said it, but I'm grateful it happened, and I'm happy because you gave. If Miriam, there's so many things. Amanda would not be here.
That's right.
Half aunt, half cousin, literally.
His cousin.
My cousin. And all her children, and you, and just from what my dad said, I know my dad had your husband,
Yeah.
my dad's dad, grandfather.
Right.
My dad talks about how he was as a father. I'm not gonna. But I know he also told me a story how him and Jimmy one time started a fight on the upstairs and it ended in the front yard.
Right.
So they, I'm sure they were, a lot to handle. But he grew and learned from all that, and he got to have another experience of being a father, and you gave that to him.
Well, and people grow up, and in my mind, Miriam got the worst half of his life because she got the half of the man who had to learn how to be a husband and a father, and he liked to party. I mean, I know from his stories, he'd go out with guys at work, and they did trips on some kind of a houseboat for weekends. I mean, when the Vietnam War happened, did your dad tell you that?
No, I haven't heard about this at all.
Grandpa had been in the Navy, and he loved it.
Okay.
And so when the Vietnam War happened, he decided he had to go find out what's going on, and he's going over there. And Miriam let him. So he sold his truck.
I can't believe I've never heard this.
He went and applied, and they were accepting him. But when it came time for him to actually go, they didn't have his rank available.
Yeah.
And they told him it would be foolish for him to go in at a lesser rank. And so it ended up he didn't go. So I kind of laughed. It's like, was there a reason Miriam said, yeah, go ahead and go to Vietnam? I don't know what was going on. But I really think it was more that he loved his Navy time. Yes. I think part of him wished that he had been career. Mm-hmm. But no, he actually tried to go back and go to Vietnam and be involved in the war there.
And he did. What did he do in World War II? Was he enrolled?
He was Korea.
Korea.
He was. And I was he was involved. I meant to look it up. He was involved in atomic bomb testing. Some of the original atomic bomb testing. He was on a ship. They would build villages and buildings on small islands, and then they'd blow them up with an atomic bomb.
Oh, no kidding. He was involved in that.
And they'd be on the ship, on the deck, watching with no gear or anything. And Grandpa did go through, and so Miriam got the wild side, I got the medical history side. Grandpa did go through lymphoma based on his exposure, radiation exposure.
Oh, I thought it was asbestos.
That's the second.
It's a double whammy.
Double whammy. So he actually he has testicular lymphoma,
Oh wow.
So
Okay.
he went through chemo for that too. That was tough, but that was based on his Navy
Yes.
experience. But yeah, so he tried to go back.
Very interesting.
Yeah,
Very
it was wild. But anyway, good investment though, because I wouldn't have you.
Yes, and I agree. And actually, on that note, let's do the coin thing real quick. We talked about,
That's right.
and I'll set this up a little bit. And we wanted to tell people about how sometimes we put the older generations on kind of a pedestal, and we're not
Yep.
thinking about the experiences they've been through and what they're still dealing with and might always deal with.
Right.
And you told us a little bit ago about this little I'm not sure what you call it, but yes,
It's
let's just do it.
An object lesson.
Okay, object lesson.
I have a silver dollar actually.
Okay.
It happens to be an Eisenhower silver dollar, but okay. What do you see?
It's still upside down, but it's an upside down bell and a moon.
And I see the head of a man, and I happen to know it's Eisenhower. The point being, we don't see the same thing. And not only my guy is right side up,
Mm-hmm.
and your image was upside.
That's even another. That's like okay.
I had my image right side up, and your image is upside down.
And it's a totally different image.
A totally different
Yes.
image. And so when we hear people tell of their experiences, and our family's a good example. Me marrying Grandpa, my side of it and his children's side of it is different because we look at it from a different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make either side wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't even mean that we have to hate each other.
Mm-hmm.
It just means we see it differently.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
Something for that everyone should keep in mind, right?
Right. We experience it differently.
Well, I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing that. Okay, next question.
Okay.
About halfway through. What is the? Oh no! I just did that. What's your biggest regret in life? That's a toughie.
That's the harder one, and that took a lot of thinking about. The biggest regret in my life is not finding my own voice sooner.
Okay. Explain that.
Well, and I even wrote, because when I came up with the thought, it's like, what do I even mean to myself about that? And of course, I didn't write that one down. Oh no, it's up. Yeah, I found out that I am worthy.
Yes.
But the story is because my dad, so your grandpa, in my high school yearbook, every freaking year wrote the same thing. To thine own self be true. It wasn't like, oh, Maria, you're such a wonderful daughter, and I hope your high school experience. The same thing every year, the same words.
And this is my dad when he's 5 years
No,
young. Oh, wait, who?
This is your grandpa.
Oh, my grandpa.
So
Okay,
my
sorry.
dad,
Oh.
my father.
Oh, okay.
So my own father.
Your father, my mother's
your
father.
mother's father.
Okay.
Yes, so your mom's father, my father, your grandpa. So you would expect him to say, oh, Maria, I know you're going to be a success. You're so smart. You're so beautiful, whatever. No, none of that. He wrote every year, he wrote, to thine own self be true.
And how long did it take you to learn what that meant?
It took me, so I was probably 16, I don't know, 40 years, 30 years.
Wow.
But really, I think what he was saying is for me to have my own voice.
Yes.
And if I had my own voice, I don't think I would have been pregnant out of wedlock. And this is where the older generation falls. Not everyone knows that about me. And my mom always told me, if you ever get pregnant, just don't come home. And so when I found out, and I brought Kleenex, this is the part, when I found out I was pregnant, I didn't go home. In fact, I knew that Grandma went to the grocery store. Grandma never learned to drive.
I remember that. Yeah.
I do have a funny story about your mom about that, but we won't go there because then I'll forget.
Okay.
if we remember, well, I'll tell it to you. But
Okay.
anyway, so I knew Grandma would be gone on a certain day because she had a friend that she went to the grocery store with every week,
Mm-hmm.
Virginia Giblin. And Virginia would drive, Mom would go, and they would shop groceries together. And so I
Mhm.
knew Grandma would be gone on a certain day at a certain time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I decided I would go over there and get my stuff. And I think I went by myself. I could drive, I had my own car.
Mm-hmm.
So I drove over and I pulled in the driveway, and holy cow, Grandpa is home. I don't know why he's home.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to tell him face to face. And I cried. He didn't cry. He was stoic. I told him to get my stuff, and basically he helped me. He helped me move my stuff out, and he said, I'm not telling your mom, you'll have to call her. You'll have to tell her yourself. He didn't tell me to call her. You'll have to tell her yourself. I just called her on the phone. And I said, Mom, I'm pregnant. I took my stuff. And that was about the whole conversation. I can't remember if she hung up on me or not,
Mm-hmm.
but there were not any words after that.
Mm-hmm.
And not very long after, I walked into a restaurant in the area, and they were there eating. When they saw me, they got up and left. There were no words, no conversation, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So that was,
Did you
Happened.
guys go through a period of not speaking, or?
yes, well, during, although we came back. So when, well, it's a real, I could write a book about this one, I think. When I found I was pregnant, I can't say, I'm not going to say a bad word.
And this is with Stephen?
No, see, Debbie. Debbie's my oldest.
Okay,
This
Debbie's
was
older than
Deborah.
Stephen? Okay.
I'm pregnant with Deborah. He tells me he's not divorced. I'm like, what? I didn't even know he had been married.
Oh my God.
He says, so we can't even get married right away.
Mm-hmm.
And then he loses his job. We ended up getting in a car. I'm not feeling very well in a lot of ways. We go to Florida. Me and him and a friend of his and his wife, who they were all living about the same way. And this goes back to, where is my voice?
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
first of all, why did I even go there?
You're almost a hostage in a sense.
No, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
it
I'm
wasn't,
like, I
you
don't
didn't
know.
choose to,
Well, right. Well, but the first choice was to get pregnant in the first place.
Yes.
That
I
was
get
where.
Well, not hostage in that way, but.
There weren't many choices.
Yes.
And I don't think I could have done an abortion. Abortion wasn't a topic like it is now.
Mm-hmm.
We go to Florida. We have a little bit of money, but we pitch tents. And not only do we pitch tents in Florida in the Everglades. And
Oh
I'm
my
like, I am not
gosh.
sleeping. I slept in the car. I'm not sleeping in the Everglades in a tent. We ended up having, I forget how many months. I think I was 4 months pregnant when we could finally get married.
Oh.
But he.
And you have been living in the Everglades in tents and cars that whole month? Like,
the whole time I was pregnant. Well, yeah.
wow.
Well, we had an apartment for a little bit of time, but no, for at least 3 months of that pregnancy, the first part of my pregnancy,
Mm-hmm.
we were in a tent. We ran out of money. I've actually shoplifted because we went in.
Shut up! I don't
We
believe it.
see, and I don't think anyone knows all of this part.
Yeah.
They will now, and I don't care.
Yeah. That's why this is.
So
yeah.
okay, so we actually go into a little shop. It was like something you might find on a campground, a
Mm-hmm.
little tiny store. The only thing I could manage to get was and my ex-husband loved sardines, so he was a can of sardines. I don't even remember how I was brave enough to pick it up or where I even put it to get it out of the store.
Wow.
And that's when I did call home.
Mm-hmm.
And Grandpa, and it was really a long time before I really registered with me about what a sacrifice it probably was for Grandpa. When I called him, he sent us $500.
That's a lot of money back. What
Yeah.
year is that? So what was Debbie born?
Oh, Debbie was born in 70 for
Oh my gosh,
like-
$500 and
that was a lot of money.
that's a lot of money.
So he did. I can't remember all the details of why it had to be that amount of money.
Yeah.
But anyway, we did make it back to Indiana. They did let me stay in the house until the wedding happened. They did not come.
Did not come to your
no,
wedding.
No.
Is it the Catholicism thing?
I think it was their daughter getting pregnant out of wedlock thing.
Well, that's like a Catholic. That's a. I mean, is it religious? Is it just?
I think. Well.
Or just
now
that time and that period of time.
What do you tell the family?
Yeah.
I think she actually told extended family that, we found out Maria and Mike are married. Mike was his name. Maria and Mike were married. We didn't even know it, which is how they explained me having a baby when I didn't get married until. So anyway.
Different time.
But it took me a long time to find my voice and to figure out I am worthy.
You are.
But that took a long time.
Well, I do, and to my point when I said that's why we're doing this, and I appreciate you being honest about that and sharing that, because so many people need to hear that. Everybody's a brother, a sister, a daughter, a mother, a grandmother.
Right, that's right.
And thank you.
Oh.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I know that's tough.
But,
all right.
Yeah, I don't regret, because without all of that, I wouldn't have Debbie.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have all of her children. I wouldn't have a lot of things in my life. So
just like I was saying earlier, my biggest periods of suffering have caused the most growth as a human being.
Right.
And you learn to appreciate those things.
Right.
And it's just a part of life, right?
Yeah. Right.
All right. Where are we at?
Okay. You tell me.
If I was an 18-year-old kid having this conversation with you and I was graduating high school tomorrow, what is the one piece of advice you would give them about becoming an adult?
And I did think about that, because that's the big one. Find your voice. No, actually, I'd see my note says, life is like a video game. And guess what? That doesn't fit you, because you don't even like video games. So when you said, I'm really not a video game person, I'm like, well, my talking about 18-year-old thing is not going to be too, but the next one is, it's he who angers you controls you. It's he or she or that thing which angers you.
Even Sean's shaking his head over there.
And sometimes it's your own disappointment. So if you let your own disappointment take over and be the driving force, if anger's the driving force.
And you could be angering yourself because you have the expectations. You want things to turn out the way you plan or want them to.
I can't remember. I have that written on a piece of paper at my desk. I wish I could remember where I found it. I wish I could contribute it to, I'm sure it's not original to me. I found it somewhere and wrote, I'm like, I have to remember that. Because it could be anything, your job, your whatever. And I've changed it through the years, because I used to just say to people, he who angers, but it's not always a he. Sometimes it's a she, it's an it, it's a thing. That, so it's probably better said, that which angers you controls you. If you let the anger rule, it changes everything, and it will keep you from achieving anything.
Or including joy.
Exactly,
right?
Anything, right.
Yes.
I really do think, even back to finding my voice, and when I got pregnant, I was angry with my parents for so long about their reaction, and that went way into my life to let go of that. But anyway,
Okay. All right, for all the kids graduating high school tomorrow, remember that. What angers you controls you. Thank you. That's very. Yeah. I agree with that totally. And obviously, Sean does too. Yep. So if I just happened to be a 36-year-old divorcee with that's had all kinds of successes and failures in business, ex-prison convict, just if I happen to be that, what advice would you give to me?
If that was the case, two things. Be a believer and be grateful. And be a believer doesn't have to be about any certain church. It doesn't have to be about church at all.
Mm-hmm.
Just be a believer that you are not the center of the universe, that there is a power greater than you.
Mm-hmm.
And really be a believer that there is a life after this one.
Yes.
That this whole...
At least that there's something bigger than you.
Something bigger.
You're our reality. Okay.
Right. To just be a believer.
Just believe in something.
Right. Choose to, believe in something that is outside of yourself and bigger than you.
Yes.
If you were in Alcoholics Anonymous, they'd
I have
say,
been many times in this.
they call it your higher power.
Mm-hmm.
There is a power in the universe greater than you,
Mm-hmm.
greater than me. But I really got to that because when I married your grandpa, I had searched for, and this for me it has been a church, but I got baptized into his church because I wanted to go to church with him.
Yeah.
I didn't believe it.
See, that's why I did want to ask a question. We didn't. I thought it would kind of fall into it, but do you want to say anything about your experience in being raised a Catholic, and then my mom also converted from my dad into the Mormon or LDS church,
right?
And you guys have all stayed into it, and
right.
What is there anything you want to mention about that,
Well,
or just
that when I got baptized, it wasn't because I believed everything about the church.
you wanted to marry the guy?
I wanted. He married me without me joining the church.
Okay.
Now your mom had to get married,
Mm-hmm.
join the church to get married.
Yeah.
See, and that's the other side of the coin. Which we could, I think, for her, in terms of her relationship with this side of the family, was killer because Miriam and your grandpa were not happy about that choice for your dad.
Yes.
He did not serve his mission.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I'm holding up the coin because that's my perspective of your mother's view on that.
Yeah.
But
everyone has their own experiences and interpretations of.
So when I joined that church, it wasn't because I thought, oh, it's the best church ever. It's because I wanted to go to church with your grandpa.
Mm.
But as I participated and as I learned, again, kind of back to finding my own voice, finding out who I am, finding out that it has to be something bigger than yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. All right, last question, if you're ready for it. As a 73-year-old human being, having the life you have lived with all of your experiences, what in your life today brings you the most satisfaction and joy?
I laughed about this one too because, again, it's like, oh, what big thing. Actually, it's a clean white dress shirt. Because I do the boys' church shirts, and I get them all nice and white, and if they need ironing, all crisp and white, and that makes me happy. It's
service. Is that what you're saying?
It's all kinds of little things.
Service to others, is that kind of the point?
Kind of outside, and actually, it's gratitude.
Gratitude. Oh, big one.
Gratitude. And actually, even going back to giving you advice as a 36-year-old person that you are, is to be grateful for all the little things.
Mm-hmm.
Taking a meal to someone,
yes.
A lesson that I teach, all the things I do in my life, when I teach it well,
mm-hmm.
like I've taken the time to prepare and I go in feeling pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter, again, my own voice. It doesn't
mm-hmm.
matter if they think my audience thinks it went well. If I say, I did a good job at that today.
Yeah. And I can tell you from my own experience, I mean, I just always looked up to the people who were successful in business and this and that. And once I got it, it was depressing. It's like, this is not what joy is. This is not the new car, the whatever. And I did learn that service to others is there's no greater joy, and it's almost selfish because you enjoy it so much. But it's so important, and actually a part of the podcast I'm gonna put in and put in kind of that advertising time and, support a social cause. So I'm sure you guys would probably already have seen that by now, but
I haven't.
you will
I
get
have
to
to-
see
I
it.
have to-
You'll
yeah, I
get
have
to
to
see
get
it. You'll get to see it. I'll let you know.
Well, I
I'll
told
send
you
you a link.
In fact, I told you I have a handout for you.
Okay.
I have a handout.
Do you want to do this on video?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
It says gratitude is peace.
Thank you for that. That's
Gratitude makes sense of our past, brings peace for today, and creates a vision for tomorrow.
okay. Thank you so much. Again,
That's it, kids.
so awesome. Anything else you wanted to get out
Nope,
to the world?
I think I got
Any more
everything
dirty
out.
laundry?
Oh, there's probably lots more dirty laundry. But I ain't telling it all.
Okay. All right. See you later. So, what'd you think of the podcast?
That was really great. Some really great stories. I really liked it. It was fun to hear. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. I had a really good experience myself. When I got home that night, I cried like a little baby. Because really, it's a story about life. It's about forgiving family, forgiving others, and most importantly, forgiving yourself. Wouldn't you agree?
I do agree, yes.
Okay, well, next week we got Granny J from Crackers, Indianapolis on our podcast. So please tune in.
I'll be there.
All right, nice to meet you, Sean.
Thank you.